All right, welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're all about feeling our best and exploring a holistic roadmap to get us there.
Sounds like a plan.
Our guide for this deep dive is Edgar Sells and his book Holistic Health Axioms, second edition.
Interesting. Now, what's fascinating about Sells is that he doesn't come from a traditional health background. He was actually a finance guy. Health conscious, sure, but still hit a health speed bump in his 40s.
Yeah, a mini stroke, right. Talk about a wake-up call.
Exactly, a real wake-up call. That experience sent him down this rabbit hole of holistic health, which eventually led to him writing this book.
Makes sense. So tell me, are these axioms like totally out there stuff, or are they more grounded in real practices?
Well, Sells does a great job of blending ancient wisdom with modern research. He's not saying you should ditch your doctor, but it's more like, how can we optimize our well-being beyond the basics?
I like that. So no need to go live in the woods and eat only berries.
Not unless you want to. But no, it's about incorporating practical wisdom into your everyday life.
Love it. So let's jump right into it. Axiom number one is embrace cold exposure. Okay, I'm already shivering just thinking about it. Why on earth would we willingly subject ourselves to the cold? It seems counterintuitive.
Right, you'd think we'd want to stay warm and cozy, especially as we head into the colder months. But Sells found that incorporating cold exposure into his routine, things like cold showers, even brief ice baths, had a really significant impact on his energy levels and overall well-being.
Really? So it's not just about making yourself uncomfortable. There's actually more to it. Like, what's the science behind it?
Absolutely. It's not just about willpower or something. Cells, and actually some research out there, suggests that cold exposure activates our primal survival mechanisms. Think about it. Your body suddenly has to work harder to maintain its core temperature. This can jumpstart your system. It can boost your circulation, potentially give your immune system a nudge, and even trigger a rush of endorphins that leave you feeling more alert and energized.
Wow. So I shouldn't dread those chilly mornings. I should embrace them. Start with a blast of cold water instead of a warm one.
You got it. Now, Sells doesn't recommend jumping straight into an ice bath, especially if you're new to this. He suggests starting slow. Maybe try ending your regular shower with a minute or two of cold water and gradually increasing the duration as you get used to it. Or, if you're feeling adventurous, try a quick dip in a cold lake or ocean safely, of course.
All right, challenge accepted. I'm going to give those cold showers a shot. But for now, let's warm up to Axiom 2, eat clean. That sounds like something we can all get behind, right?
Absolutely. But Sells digs deeper than just fruits and veggies good, junk food bad. He's talking about understanding what eating clean truly means.
So what's the deeper dive on clean eating? Break it down for us.
It's about prioritizing foods in their most natural state, minimizing processed ingredients, additives, and basically anything that might have a negative impact on our bodies.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about all those different diets out there? Vegan, carnivore, paleo, the list goes on. Does Cells advocate for one specific way of eating?
That's where it gets really interesting. Sells actually dives into the whole vegan versus carnivore debate and highlights that both can be perfectly healthy if, and this is key, if the focus is on the quality and cleanliness of the food. He even talks about how he struggled to find clean, unprocessed food while hiking the Camino de Santiago. And this experience really highlighted for him just how difficult it can be to consistently eat clean in a world that's dominated by processed options.
Yeah, it's eye-opening because so often we get caught up in these diet wars without addressing the core issue, the quality of the food itself. So, practical tips for upping our clean eating game. Where do we even begin?
Farmers markets are your new best friend.
Love those.
Right. You get fresher produce, often locally sourced. And cooking at home more often definitely puts you in control.
It's like becoming the chefs of our own well-being.
Exactly.
Now, speaking of food, let's move on to Axiom 3, which focuses on the power of fasting. I'll admit, the idea of voluntarily skipping meals used to sound crazy to me, but there's a lot of buzz around it lately.
Yeah, fasting is definitely having a moment. But it's not some trendy new fad. It's been practiced for centuries across different cultures and religions.
So what's the science behind it? Why would choosing not to eat be a good thing?
Well, when you fast, your body actually goes through some amazing transformations. One key process is called autophagy. Essentially, it means self-eating.
Self-eating. Okay, that sounds a little intense.
I know, right? But it's actually a good thing. Autophagy is like a cellular cleaning process. So your body identifies old or damaged cell parts and breaks them down for recycling. Cells compares it to taking out the trash, giving your cells a fresh start.
Wow, so by giving our digestive system a break, we're giving our bodies a chance to, like, clean house from the inside out. That's fascinating.
Exactly. And there are potential benefits beyond just the cellular cleaning. Fasting can improve your metabolic flexibility, meaning your body becomes more efficient at switching between burning glucose and burning fat for energy. Cells also talks about experiencing enhanced mental clarity during fasts, almost like your brain gets a boost of focus when it's not busy digesting.
But let's be real, fasting can be tough. Cells himself even mentions struggling with it initially.
Oh, absolutely. He's very open about the challenges. Initially, he experienced intense cravings and even some headaches. He really had to gradually ease into a fasting routine, starting with shorter fasts and building up over time, learning to listen to his body and find what worked best for him.
So you're not suggesting we all go on a week-long water fast, cold turkey?
Definitely not. It's crucial to approach fasting with caution, especially if you have any underlying health conditions. Always consult with your doctor before making major dietary changes. If you're new to fasting, Cells suggests exploring something like the 168 method of intermittent fasting.
Okay, for those of us who haven't jumped on the fasting bandwagon yet, what exactly is the 168 method?
It's pretty straightforward, actually. You fast for 16 hours each day and have an 8-hour window where you eat your meals. Many people find it pretty easy to fit into their lifestyle.
Okay, so you're basically just extending that overnight fast we naturally do while we sleep? That seems manageable.
Exactly. And as you become more comfortable, you can gradually experiment with longer fasts if you choose. But the key is to listen to your body and find what feels sustainable for you.
Now, I'm curious, does Cells suggest any specific foods to eat or avoid during that eating window? So we're talking about being mindful of what we eat and understanding those sneaky cravings. It feels like this all ties into the next axiom, right?
Absolutely. Axiom 4, Cells calls it optimal exercise plus.
Optimal exercise plus. It's
Yeah,
like getting more bang for your workout buck.
exactly. It's about training smarter, not necessarily harder. And, Cells really emphasizes the importance of rest and recovery. He actually challenges the notion that more exercise is always better.
Really? I thought we were all supposed to be aiming for 10,000 steps a day and hitting the gym 5 times a week.
Yeah, that's a common misconception. Cells actually delves into the potential downsides of overtraining, especially when it comes to chronic cardio. He uses the example of long-distance running, which, many people consider like the gold standard of
Yeah,
fitness.
like running a marathon is the ultimate achievement.
Exactly. But Cells points out that, constantly pounding the pavement can actually put a lot of stress on your joints and even lead to imbalances in your body. He's not saying don't run, but he encourages listeners to find a balance and incorporate a variety of movements.
So mix it up a bit. Instead of just endless hours on the treadmill, maybe some sprints, some strength training, maybe even a dance class.
Exactly. Cells advocates for incorporating more primal movements into our exercise routines. So things like squatting, pushing, pulling, carrying movements that mimic how our ancestors moved naturally.
It makes sense. Our bodies were designed to move in all sorts of ways, not just in a straight line on a treadmill.
Right.
So what's the plus in optimal exercise plus?
That's where things get even more interesting. So Cells argues that incorporating elements like sun exposure, grounding, and minimalist footwear can actually amplify the benefits of our workouts and improve our overall well-being.
I've been seeing those barefoot style shoes everywhere lately. What's the deal with those?
Yeah, Cells is a big advocate for minimalist footwear. He believes that conventional shoes, with their thick soles and elevated heels, can actually weaken our feet and create imbalances in our posture. And remember how we talked about our ancestors and their natural movement patterns?
Right.
Well, they weren't wearing cushioned sneakers.
That's true. I never thought about it that way. So by ditching the bulky shoes and going minimalist, we're essentially relearning how to walk naturally.
Precisely. And Cells believes this can have a ripple effect on our overall health, improving foot strength, balance, and even reducing the risk of injuries. He does acknowledge that it's not about going completely barefoot all the time, especially in our modern world. But he suggests gradually transitioning to minimalist shoes and allowing your feet to adapt.
I'm definitely intrigued by this. I might have to give those minimalist shoes a try. Now, onto something that might not seem directly related to exercise, but is definitely a part of a holistic approach to health. Axiom 5. Free yourself from unexpected addictions. What exactly does Cells mean by unexpected addictions?
He's talking about the things we often don't even think of as addictive. Things like sugar and refined flour. We encounter them everywhere, and they become so ingrained in our diets that we don't even realize how much they might be impacting us.
Okay, so not your typical addiction like drugs or alcohol, but something a little more, I don't know, insidious, hiding in plain sight.
Exactly. Sells explains that these substances can actually hijack our brain chemistry in a similar way to addicted drugs. Think about those intense cravings you get for, like, sugary drinks or processed snacks.
Well, tell me about it. I have a serious weakness for potato chips. It's like my brain just goes on autopilot, and before I know it, the bag is empty.
And that's exactly what Sells wants us to be aware of. He challenges us to, like, question those cravings and understand that they might be driven by these unexpected addictions. He even compares commercially produced foods to addictive products, and he uses Oreo cookies as an example.
Okay, Oreos, now that's hitting close to home.
Right. They're designed to be irresistible. But here's the thing. They offer minimal nutritional value while potentially contributing to a whole host of health problems. And this isn't just about willpower, it's about understanding the science behind these cravings and finding ways to kind of break free from their hold.
So, how do we do that? How do we start to break free from these unexpected addictions?
Awareness is the first step. Start by paying attention to your cravings. What triggers them? What are you really craving? Often, it's not even about the food itself, but rather an emotional need that we're trying to satisfy.
That's so true. Sometimes I realize I'm not even hungry. I'm just like stressed or bored, and reaching for a bag of chips is just like an automatic response.
Exactly. And, Sells talks about how he even found himself falling into similar traps while he was hiking the Camino de Santiago. He talks about the lack of healthy food options and how tempting it was to just grab those processed snacks that were so readily available. But he did mention noticing a shift in consumer behavior, with sales of processed foods declining and people seeking out healthier alternatives.
Okay, that's encouraging. So it's not a lost cause. But what are some practical tips? What can we do besides just like white knuckling it through those cravings? It's like we're retraining our brains to crave nourishment instead of just quick fixes.
Exactly. And you know what's interesting? It ties right into Axiom 6, which focuses on the importance of sound sleep. You see, it's not just about what we put into our bodies, but also about giving our bodies the time and space they need to rest and recharge.
Makes total sense. I know I'm a completely different person when I haven't slept well. Like, forget about those healthy choices. Just hand me the coffee and donuts.
Right. Sells actually goes so far as to say, and I love this, kill for sound sleep.
Wow.
Yeah. He really emphasizes just how crucial it is for our physical and mental well-being. He argues that sleep deprivation can actually sabotage even the healthiest lifestyle.
Kill for sound sleep. I'm adding that to my motivational quotes. But seriously, I think we often underestimate the power of a good night's sleep. Like, we try to squeeze in just one more episode or answer just one more email, but then we pay for it the next day.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not just about the quantity of sleep, but also the quality. Sells points out that so many factors can impact our sleep. Stress, our diet, light exposure, even the temperature of our bedrooms.
It's like creating this perfect sleep sanctuary.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard that blue light from our phones can mess with our sleep. Is that something Sells talks about?
He does. He suggests limiting screen time an hour or two before bed and dimming the lights in your home to create a more relaxing ambiance. He's really big on listening to your body's natural sleep-wake cycles.
You know, I actually tried that putting my phone away earlier and dimming the lights, and I did sleep better. Sometimes the simplest things can make such a difference.
I totally agree. And you know what? This actually ties into the next axiom, which focuses on managing chronic stress. Sells argues that we're often so caught up in the hustle and bustle of daily life that we don't even realize how much stress we're carrying around.
Oh, I feel that. It's like stress has become the norm, hasn't it?
It really has. And Sells differentiates between acute stress and chronic stress.
Okay, so explain that difference.
So acute stress is that fight or flight response we experience in, like, short bursts. Think public speaking or a near-miss car accident.
Okay, got it.
Your heart's racing, you might feel that surge of adrenaline, but then it subsides once the threat is gone.
Right.
Chronic stress, on the other hand, that's different. That lingers. It's that constant worry, that feeling of being overwhelmed. And that can manifest in physical symptoms, headaches, fatigue, digestive issues, even a weakened immune system.
That makes a lot of sense. And it really makes you realize how important it is to find healthy ways to manage that chronic stress.
Exactly. And Sells talks about the importance of incorporating stress-reducing practices into our daily routines, whether it's meditation, yoga, spending time in nature, or simply taking a few minutes to, like, just breathe deeply and clear your mind. It's about finding what works for you.
Love it. It's like hitting the reset button for our minds and our bodies. Okay, so speaking of our environment, Axiom 8 focuses on creating a clean and healthy living space. I feel like this is becoming more and more important, especially with all the rising concerns about pollution and toxins.
You're right. Cells emphasizes that it's not just about what we're putting into our bodies, but also the air we breathe, the water we drink, the products we use in our homes. He encourages us to become aware of potential toxins in our environment and find ways to minimize our exposure.
So it's not about becoming a hermit and living off the grid, it's just being more conscious of our surroundings.
Exactly. Simple things like opening windows for fresh air, choosing natural cleaning products, and filtering your water can make a difference. Cells even talks about the potential impact of electromagnetic fields, EMFs, from our electronic devices.
EMFs. Okay, that sounds a little sci-fi. Is that something we should be worried about?
Cells believes it's worth considering, especially given how surrounded we are by electronic devices these days. He suggests limiting our exposure, like keeping our phones away from our bodies while we sleep, being mindful of how much time we're spending in front of screens. He actually uses the examples of asbestos and tobacco. Both were initially considered safe, but then later found to have serious health consequences.
Right, right.
So his point is, why wait until there's this overwhelming evidence of harm when we can take steps now to minimize potential risks?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Better safe than sorry.
Exactly.
Okay, so moving on to Axiom 9, which focuses on cultivating psychological well-being. It feels like this is where it all comes together.
Absolutely. Our mental and emotional health are so intrinsically linked to our physical health. Cells really stresses the importance of developing a positive mindset, challenging negative self-talk, and cultivating self-compassion.
So much easier said than done some days.
It definitely takes practice. Cells suggests incorporating affirmations, gratitude practices, and even surrounding yourself with positive influences. He really believes that our thoughts have a powerful impact on our physical well-being.
Oh, I completely agree. I know that when I'm stressed or feeling down, it impacts everything. My energy levels, my sleep, even my digestion. It's like this crazy domino effect.
Exactly. And so finally, we arrive at Axiom 10, which challenges us to find our true identity and life's purpose.
Okay, so we've covered the importance of taking care of our physical bodies, managing stress, creating a healthy environment, and cultivating a positive mindset. This final axiom seems to be about taking all of that and channeling it into something even greater than ourselves, wouldn't you say?
Precisely. Cells believes that aligning our actions with our values and pursuing our passions is essential for living a truly fulfilling life. He encourages us to explore our interests, identify what brings us joy, and find ways to incorporate those passions into our daily lives.
I love that. It's not just about living longer, it's about living a life that feels meaningful and aligned with who we truly are.
Yes, and you know what? Cells leaves us with a really powerful question to ponder. If you had to choose between living a life of comfort or a life of vitality, which would you choose?
That is such a great question to end on. It really makes you think about what's truly important. And it's a great reminder that true well being is about so much more than just physical health. It's about cultivating a life of purpose, passion, and vitality. Well, we hope this deep dive into Edgar Sells' holistic health axioms has inspired you to take charge of your well being and create a life you truly love.